Hello, hello, chismosas y chismosos. Did you miss me? Because I missed you. Welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. I'm Audrey, a paralegal turned stay-at-home mom who loves true crime. The cases I cover are wild, topics may be triggering, viewer and listener discretion is strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. With all that being said, grab your hot Cheetos and let's get started on today's case. When the most hated woman in America entered TikTok, the community was absolutely not having it. People could not believe the woman who seemingly got away with murder entered our safe space. The cherry on top was the exclusive content being provided for those who paid. It was March of 1981 in Ohio when 29-year-old George Anthony married 22-year-old Cindy Plessy. Their first son, named Lee, was born on November 20th, 1982. Casey Marie Anthony was born on March 19th, 1986. George worked for the Trumbull County Sheriff from 1974 through 1985. After this, he worked as a security guard. The Anthony family moved to Orlando, Florida in 1989. Cindy was a nursing case supervisor for Gentiva Health Services and brought in home the majority of the bacon. Casey's defense declared that George was kicked out of the Anthony home because he sexually abused Casey. George and Cindy said the reason was because George spent his workers' compensation settlement money as soon as it was in his hands. George did not tell his wife the truth until she cornered him about the issue and he fessed up. Perhaps this lying was learned behavior. Casey started her habit of lying at Colonial High School when she was set to graduate in 2004. Casey's classmates noticed she just stopped showing up to classes during her senior year. Even though the school called and spoke to Cindy, advising her that Casey did not have enough credits to graduate, they still attended the graduation ceremony and had a party. When the grandparents asked why Casey was not in her cap and gown, Cindy explained that the school had messed up, but not to worry. In the summer of 2005, people who knew Casey started suspecting that she was pregnant. When asked, she would say she was still a virgin. In July of 2005, the Anthonys attended a relative's wedding, and people approached them to say they didn't know Casey was pregnant, to which they would respond with, "She's just gained a little weight." Shortly after they got home from this trip, Casey went to Cindy's job and admitted that she was 7 months pregnant. After a few days, Cindy and Casey sat George down and broke the news that he was going to be a grandfather. Casey and her brother Lee shared a bathroom, and he would see her stomach when she would come out of there. Lee questioned Casey and Cindy about this, and they strongly denied that she was pregnant at all. Like Miss Wendy Williams used to say, denial is a river in Egypt. Lee was not told the truth about Casey's pregnancy until just a couple days before Kaylee was born. She was so distraught that his sister, his mom, and his dad failed to tell him that he was going to be an uncle and refused to visit her at her birth. George and Cindy were in the delivery room for the birth of their first grandchild, Kaylee Marie Anthony. She was born on August 9th, 2005. The identity of Kaylee's biological father is still a mystery. At the time of Kaylee's birth, Casey was engaged to a man named Jesse Grunt, and he believed he was the father until a DNA test confirmed he was not. In a 2009 People magazine interview, Jesse says, and I quote, "I loved Kaylee so much, and finding out she was someone else's daughter was hard," unquote. Casey told a high school classmate that Jesus Ortiz was the father. He died in a car accident in 2007. The Ortiz family released a statement saying they did not know Casey, and if Kaylee was indeed their son's child, and if she was still alive, they would have loved to know her. They added that if this was true, she would be a piece of their deceased son. In June of 2011, a woman named Donna Duggan told the press that her son Michael Duggan was Kaylee's dad. He also died in a car accident in 2007, and although they lived in Massachusetts, Michael's mom said he routinely visited Florida for his job with the moving company. Casey told police and her mother that a man named Eric Baker was the father. On one occasion, Casey called Cindy and she sounded very upset with the news of Eric Barker passing away in a car accident. Records indicate that a man named Eric Baker in Kentucky did in fact pass away in a car crash in 2007. Whether or not this man actually knew Casey or was Kaylee's father, I guess we'll never know. In the 2011 trial, Cindy testified that Casey told her that this supposed Eric Baker was a married father. A witness at trial who claimed to be Casey's friend testified that Kaylee was a product of a random one-night stand at a party with a man named Josh from Georgia, whom she met through her job at Universal Studios. This claim could not be true because Kaylee was not conceived while Casey worked at Universal. During opening statements at trial, Casey's defense attorney, Jose Baez, claimed George had sexually abused Casey. In his book, Presumed Guilty, Casey Anthony, The Inside Story, he writes that Casey thought her own father had impregnated her, and Kaylee could have been his daughter. Dr. William Whites, a psychologist hired by Casey's defense, testified at trial and through a deposition wherein he explained that Casey had been sexually abused by her father from the age of 8 through 12. When George stopped coming in her room at night, her brother Lee started doing the same. Even though Casey's mom was a nurse, it is alleged that during her childhood, Casey was never taken to a pediatrician. Casey never told her mom about her father's abuse, but she did try to tell her about her brother's abuse, and Cindy's response was to call her a whore. George testified that the allegations of sexual abuse were false. However, on January 22nd of 2009, with the results of a DNA test to see if he or his son could be Kaylee's father due to come in a couple of days, George tried to commit suicide. He left a message saying, "I'm sorry, please tell Casey I love her." The DNA test reported that George nor Lee was Kaylee's father. On March 17, 2008, someone in the Anthony home computer searched for chloroform. On March 21, 2008, someone in the Anthony home computer searched for how to make chloroform. At trial, the defense argued that Ricardo Morales, Casey's ex-boyfriend, on his MySpace page had a picture illustrated win her over with chloroform. The prosecution alleged that Casey used chloroform to knock Kaylee out so she could go out and party. Ricardo and Casey dated between February 2008 and April 2008. Ricardo testified never having discussed chloroform with Casey.